Okay, thank you again. So we continue with our lecture series, and tonight's guest is Borja Martinez from LoSiento, Barcelona. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We are really happy that he is here because he really has a specific approach to graphic design where the tactile and three-dimensional component is extremely important. So this is why we thought it would be very interesting to have him here in a school where we have so many different design departments. And tonight, Borja is going to present both experimental projects that he carries on within his studio and commercial project, both finished project and ongoing projects. So I think you really will have the opportunity to hear about their design process, the way they develop things, and in the end, I think there's going to be some time for questions.
Yes.
Do you prefer questions at the end or during the presentation?
If you want to interrupt me, you're free to interrupt me or throw tomatoes. Or you want. You're free. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so thank again everyone, and I leave the microphone to Borja.
Okay, I've got my super microphone here. Buonasera ragazzi, grazie mille per stare qui. It's a great pleasure to me to be here, and thanks for SPD, Silvia, Rita. My first time in Milano doing a conference like this. I was very excited to do it, and I hope you enjoy the presentation and everything that I want to explain you about LoSiento. LoSiento is a small graphic design atelier in Barcelona. We are really small. Maybe if you see the website, it seems a different thing, but we want to keep it small to control the quality. It's not a factory, no? It's just a small atelier, and the only thing is that we spend a lot of hours there, like living in a cave, no? I'm coming from Barcelona. I don't know if you know Barcelona. I hope you know Barcelona. It's a place to live and to stay and to work. This is, I will show you just a picture of my team right now. It's a small team. I'm not alone with these people, okay? Just doing silly things there. Just few designers. And we've got this guy that is called Gerard, that is a very important studio. He only makes manually work, just atelier things and craft things. And this is one thing that I had in my mind when I started LoSiento. I needed someone just by heart, okay? Because I wanted to recover the art way of doing things. Because nowadays we are losing the artisan processes, and is a pity, no? It's a shame, no? We are losing this. When I started LoSiento, I chose this name. That is a very common word in, everybody use me dispiace or LoSiento, but the word is related with the feelings. It's about lo siento, no? Or lo siento, I feel it. I know about dispiace, but we used to use this word of dispiace for clients sometimes, where sometimes they are not very happy with things, and we have to say me dispiace. And when you are invoicing them, also you have this lo siento in the invoices, no? And this is always and when you call to the studio and we pick up the phone and we say lo siento, and it's the first thing that there's always lo siento. We are always the idea to feel things, because this is something I have in my mind. That the idea to find something in my life to feel it, no, and to be very passionate about it. So we're in Barcelona. We are in this crowded borough called Gracia. We're over there in this studio. There's a lot of messy things there. There's a lot of objects. There's a lot of dead things that I said, because we use a lot of three-dimensional structures. Fusionated with typography to communicate ideas and projects and branding projects, etc. So this is the kind of environment that we have in LoSiento. I started LoSiento in 2007. I was studying in London, but first did product design. I did product design in Barcelona, in Elisava, and I finished, and I was very insecure, very unhappy, and I decided to move to graphic. And I moved to London. My father says, I will not pay you another career, okay? I will not pay you another BA. And I say, it's my last chance to find my way in my thing. Right? And I discovered my passion there in London. And I was 4 years in London, just studying and working as a graphic designer because I had to pay my studies. So I found a work as a designer, a graphic designer in a small department in an architecture studio. And I was always, it was 4 years, non-stopping, no? Because I said, oh, finally I found what I want to do, no? So this is the kind of things that I do in London. I used to do graffiti with glue, so they were a transparent and invisible graffiti, but pollution, day by day, they stuck in the glue, and in the next days you will follow and see that you can visually read the graphic. So the pollution, it was an accident component there. And I used to do this kind of experiments to do graffiti, and this Pantone graffiti. It's the color of pollution. No? So it's called Pantone pollution. So I was studying, and at the same time I was inventing projects. And I'm not a man of a sketchbook, so I'm a man of brain and ideas here. And I was a man that I used to make things. If I had one idea, I just do the idea and never leave it in a sketchbook, no? So always just working in experimental typography, because this is what I studied in London. I did experimental typography, and I was always thinking about typography, about how to use typography, how to understand typography in the grids of the cities, the architecture, the modular things that gave me a lot of ideas to construct different things and different typography. So experimenting with shadows, experimenting with my face, the typeface. So I was doing my typeface, just modulating my voice with the dust. With different elements. I was always just experimenting. Also interacting and doing things. This is existing exit. So it's just playing with words all the time. Doing graffiti, but more organic graffiti. So I spent my summer in Fomento. There is an island close to in the Balear Islands. Used to spend all the summertime with a kind of a deposit of sand, making graffitis of sand and experimenting this and photographing all the processes. So here again with the grid on the ground, just doing typography. This was the first approach to LoSiento. So at the end in the studio we have this ID thing and this component that is a slow cook design. We do a slow cookie design, like a slow food, no? So sometimes it's difficult to translate this to the clients because the clients normally want everything with a rush, everything very quickly. So we have to convince them that we don't do really fast things. We do like the mama, like the grandma, mama things, but in graphic design. And also, we're very connected with the idea to do honest design. Not maybe like advertising, that is more like a work thing. I prefer more to be in contact with graphic design because have this honest thing, no? So it's like advertising for me sometimes. Like when I see, this billboard without advertising, for me, it's like, an angel, no? Like, la aparición, no? It's like so because in the studio we have this atelier, we spend time in experimentation. We have commercial works, of course, to survive, but we spend like 50% of experimental, time just doing experimental work. The 80% is more commercial, and we have this 50% that is the mix of them, that is a commercial experiments. When you do experimental work, suddenly you can get a real project at the end and a commercial work. So the type of work in LoSiento is, we do packaging, we do branding, we do papercraft, and we do 3D lettering. And this 3D lettering is also connected to the idea to do experimental and personal projects. We do a lot of personal projects. I did it when I was studying, and today I'm still doing this experimental project that are becoming commercial. So I'm always wanted to do something warmer, not so digital and cold. So the idea to do something by hand is to transmit the idea that you can touch things, you can touch materials, you can experiment with different materials, and to have different outcomes and results. So the importance of crafts is what matters to me. So we use the computer, but we don't use the computer to manipulate things, just to use it like another tool. Very important tool, but just another tool. Because today is like the more comfortable way to work. Now you have everything in the computer, and it's very easy to stay stuck in front of the computer. You have everything there. Now you have all your programs, all your network things, all your Facebooks and Instagrams, and everything is there. So our main tools, we use to work with these tools. Okay, we love this one. There's a scalpel. It's a chirurgian scalpel that we buy just in London, because we can find it in Spain. And this idea to take care, to have this el cariño, to things, all the things that we do, the passion and love as well. There's a problem sometimes that you don't have Control Z. This is difficult because the Control Z is just manually. You have to go there and you have to change things manually. This sometimes is a difficult thing to treat with clients and with projects, but we keep this idea of a slow food design. So I'll show you. The first thing is our identity. We didn't design our graphic identity. It's the first thing that graphic designers do when they open a studio or they start a project, a new adventure. But I had this idea that I wanted someone with a lot of experience and someone that I really am a huge fan to design my identity. So I called to my best friend. He's called Pablo Cadella, and he owns and runs a studio called Mucho in Barcelona. And I asked him, please, to design the LoSiento identity. He came back with this idea. Very simple stencil typography with some, emotional part, the feeling part in this fusion of these 3 letters, an elegant typeface, the stencil idea of the crafts there. So the idea was to have this stencil, and then the stationery is always blank. So he said to me, okay, you are very rational and you work manually. Okay, all your identity will be made by hand. So every single business card, every single letterhead or sticker or whatever the thing that we do to promote LoSiento is unique. And this says too much about the people and the individual thing of people. When you give a business card to someone, it's like you're giving the card to someone that is different, someone that is, is unique. So these are some examples that you can do with a stencil. No? It's a playful thing. And obviously, it's the first thing that the interns do when come to LoSiento. We give them a box of cards, and they can do whatever they want. So as a first thing, it's an interesting thing to get in touch with their feelings, no? Their design feelings. So it's a first approach to them to connect with the studio. So what you want, you have your stencil, you're free to do all these designs and using the spray, obviously. Also, website is very simple, but it has this mask, no? This stencil there, and when you scroll, it's changing. So the idea of the lab that I mentioned before, computer is not the only one thing, and we have Gerardo working with all these things and these parts to construct and to build the pieces, the models, the dummies, and the typographies that we do for all the projects. So this idea to the three-dimensional is converted to two-dimensional at the end, because at the end we have a photograph. The result is always a photograph. No? So we do, three-dimensional things, but at the end you need a nice photograph of these things. It's very important, the photography. We have been learning a lot about photography. This is some, examples of projects. This is all made by hand with this scalpel thing, made by Gerard. This is for Fedrigoni. As for the IAC, the Institute for Architecture in Barcelona. Some models, this turtle for the Casa Batlló from Gaudí. These are cover for a magazine in South Africa. So this tactile thing, this is a project for a production company called Cannonball. So the idea is very simple. We use cannonballs to illustrate the project. Not very big deal. Graffitis with grass. Personal projects doing typography from the wire of a champagne wire. Just ideas that we do, we make, and we just store, we archive. Some this is for a LED lighting company catalog. Art direction for ice cream, gelato. Some more materials with metraquilato, plastic, different plastic layers of colors, using typography for a music electronic band in Barcelona called Pinkertons. Installations of paper polygons that we used to make in-house. Installations also for exhibitions. This is a calendar made with paper polygons. Wire magazine logo made with paper with huge structures for a masthead. That is this tiny logo in the magazine. That is at the end is 5 centimeters, but the structure is 5 meters. So at the end we need to do it for real. We need commercial projects, and I will show you some of that we just finished recently, like this one that is for a film festival. It's a quite very simple idea using this H capital letter. This was one of the first options for the client. This is a Huesca International Film Festival. There's a country in Spain called Huesca. They have this. They run this international film festival, very important in Spain. And we did this year the poster design. But at the end, we came up with this idea, and that's the final one that the client selected. And it's just with this typography reel, and we come to paper, and this is the part of the construction of the process of the piece. You can see the development here. At the end, we have these close-ups images, and the final poster that is this one. It's all made with this paper. Also for a platform called Show Us Your Type, and they are doing exhibitions about countries, and they just did the exhibition for Berlin, and we did this homage for Berlin, a very typographic approach, using the memorial of the Holocaust monument, just transforming to a letter from Berlin, and the result very simple at the end, but illustrates this component to be, in contact with the first idea, no? To transmit this this physical structure of the monument. So experimental and commercial. This is a quite playful work that we are doing now for Wear Magazine in US, and it's playing with the fluff, this machine that takes the fluff from the, la bola de, I don't know, la pelusa. We say pelusa in Spanish, and you have this, and it's like, it's quite interesting because you have the mixture of colors and an abstract thing. So I use this to do typography and to illustrate this kind of letter made with this pelusa. So I like pelusa, I like quite experimental. La pelusa. Me gusta la pelusa. You can put more pelusa. But one of the materials that we use a lot is the paper. The paper is a good material to use and to manipulate and to transform in different forms. Also, it's very connected to graphic design. In graphic designers, we've got the print stuff, but we have the inks and we have the paper. So we use the paper to give another dimension of a graphic solution. So this is a project that we did for Mallorca. This pastry in Mallorca is called ensaimada. It's very typical. And we have this commission project to a homage for the people who construct and build the boxes for the ensaimadas, for this pastry. The theme was this 50th anniversary. We had to do a homage, for this 50th anniversary of this association of people that work with the ensaimadas, this pastry. So we came up with this idea of illustrating the mechanism, the inside mechanism of a clock, to illustrate this idea of the 50th anniversary. So the field drawings are very technical, very some of the pieces in digital. We print this out and we cut out every single piece. So we have this exploding amount of things on the table, and we start to build this clock. These are some images of the process. Just you can see here more close up, and at the end we have this final piece that you have the 50 there, and is illustrating this idea of the 50th anniversary. The final piece is a picture, and the picture of this photograph, it goes to the sticker that goes to this box. Okay. Also for Abitare, in Abitare magazine, they commissioned us also to illustrate the letter A, the capital A, and we did it just using the technique of bending paper. They wanted to, ask us to work with this technique of bending paper. So we illustrate, little by little, and we construct this letter A to have the logo, very simple and very clear, but with this architectural component there, very close. So we do a lot of participations on exhibitions. We have a lot of commissions to do kind of posters. So we play with this experimental thing all the time. This is also for a festival called OFF, I don't know if you know Off Festival. They did this exhibition about the process of doing a project, to starting a project, and all the phases of doing a project. You have kind of a feeling when you start and when you finish. No, you when you start a project, you're anxious. No, you are anxious because you don't know what you're going to do, and you have all this process. But when you finish the project, you have the ecstasy. So they asked us to do a poster illustrating the word ecstasies. So the first idea that I have is to work with something very typographical, like the letter X, because it's very it sounds ecstasies, no? It's very, no, the sound, no? It has a lot of sound. So because the ecstasies is very connected also with the part of the sex, no? We did like a three-dimensional poster with a depth, with this typography, but having this depth with this letter X. So what we did is we built it with different layers, and you can see more the details here of these layers of the paper, using this pinky, sexual color for the card. And you can see the structure is a poster. It's a thickness of 10 centimeters, more or less. Yes. It's about penetration typography here. You can penetrate typography here. At the end, we have this picture, but the actual structure and the actual poster went to an exhibition. No? Also, we have these commission projects, but in a way, in parallel, no, we do experimental projects as well, and we have ideas. And we also have ideas connected with typography. And we had this idea to do the skeleton of a typeface, of a letter, in this case. And we work with Gerard very deeply to achieve and to find a way to show a three-dimensional structure, a three-dimensional typography that shows the skeleton. So it's like a word, like a physical letter, in this case, without the skin. So we started to do this lamination, a very architectural way, to do an intersection of paper. And what we do is like a mortadella. We started, cutting the mortadella with the word, tricky, tricky, tricky. So we have some pieces, no? It's like a peine, no? I don't know, like and at the end, you have to mount them up, no? So we mount them, all them up, and we have this skeleton of the letter. So you have the intersection in this way and in this way. It's a Bodoni homage as well. It's a Bodoni typeface, the letter A. So it becomes that. Everything is done by hand. There's no 3D software. There's no. So you can see details here, the cards. Some errors. Important, the errors. I always want to show the errors. So also in this way to work with personal projects, we came up with this idea to create a typography that is called 4D, because it's a four-dimensional typography. It's a typography that we wanted to read it from all over the angles, these 4 angles, and you can read this typeface, this typography, this lettering typography made of paper, like 50 centimeters. Well, this is a huge one that we did but the first concept was to do this. No, we need to do. It's still all made with paper, and you can read the letter M from all over the angles. We show you a quick video that illustrates the idea. That's the letter A. That's the letter R. This is the whole alphabet. We have a lot of problems here doing this one. That was very difficult. We spent the whole weekend And then we had the coffee table. And I can show you just a video that shows how it works. Hey! Scalpel. Letter S. This is the idea of 40. So we did some collaborations with illustrators as well, installations. We have this gift from an actor that he did a concrete version of the typeface, just these 3 letters, bar. And now we are pushing this project forward, and we are doing this mixture, we're mixing letters right now, so creating a new version of this 40. And you will see here what happens if we, if you mix the letter S with letter A. I like it very much. A plus M. So this is another, curious version, no? D plus N. M plus C. I like this one. Is because this is like a gorilla hand, no? We just did a cover for a magazine in Alicante, in Spain. It's called M, and that was the latest one. Muchas caras, a lot of faces. Another project using paper, but this using Pythagoras, Pythagoras, the theorem of Pythagoras. And Gerard is very into mathematics, and he used to, use maths and formulas to make different structures and typographies. So this is a project for an osteopathy school in Barcelona. It's called EMPO, E-M-P-O. And the first idea for this project was to illustrate in paper the organs, the body organs, like the heart, the brain, the keybones. We started doing, the heart, just from images from the internet, no? Just using this theorem, this Pythagoras theorem. We did the brain then. That's the brain. The very huge elephant. And then we finished doing the foot. The foot was very tricky because it has very tiny things. So this is some images of the process of doing this foot. We started working with a real foot. It's a plastic version, not a real one. But at the end, we have this piece of the paper finished with this polyhedral technique there, always using paper. And afterwards, then we developed the typeface, and we started to do the logo, and then we did We started with letter A, that is this one, that is part of the signage of the space. And then we do the whole alphabet, that is this one here. These are tiny pieces like this. And this is some of the items of the identity. There's a folder or a business card. So we also work for the music industry, and we just finished this project that you will see right now for Colomo. Colomo is Joan Colomo, is this guy. He's a folk musician in Barcelona that I am a huge fan. So as the cover for his new album, it's called System. Yeah, it's very easy. It's very simple. We try to keep it very simple all the time, and then we develop the structure or the final piece with a lot of care, no? But the main idea, it needs to be very simple and not very abstract and difficult to understand the why, no, of things. So we started with the cellular system, el sistema cellulare, no? And the forms of the nature. That was the main idea, to illustrate like the system inside the brain of the musician. Okay, that was the main idea to construct this cover of Joan Colomo. So we started to take some images from books and from the internet related with this cellular system and the nature, and we created new forms that we will use it to construct kind of a nature for this sistema concept. These are some of the forms. And then we started to draw these things in digital, then print them out, and starting to do this cellulare system. So now you can see more or less the construction developments. So there's a face, no, the profile of this portrait of Joan Colomo. Some of details of this abstract, cellular system, and this how was the final piece that we did. Very simple because it doesn't have the name of the artist and the record in the front. It's in a plastic that you take it out and you have always this blank front image with Joan Colomo's face and his system inside. That's the back of the record, and the inside we have these little pieces just around the lyrics. And in the back you have different ideas of posters, of details. So we'll now just show you some branding projects, more also experimental, but more close to to the brand itself. So there's a project in the north of Spain that is called Getxo Photo. It's a festival of photography, a peculiar festival because the exhibition of the material of the photographs is happening in the outside of the galleries. It's in the in the surroundings of this countryside. They already have a brand. They already have a logo. So they call us and they ask us to do during 3 years and with 3 different themes. He wanted to illustrate and to give some kind of a texture and design using these gate lines, no? That is that cyan color in the background all the time, very corporate, and this logo. So they have this curator that is working during these 3 years, um, giving 3 different themes for each year. No? The first year, they give us the concept of dreams. So I came up with the idea of the comfortable, thing that when you feel comfortable with the poof, no, with the balls. So we use pore expand balls as a concept for this dreams theme of the festival. No? As you can see, is in the outside. They have this these structures with the photographs, and we use always this kind of a corporate blue, and the same, Helvetica typography, but we convert it with something else, just using this new texture. In this case, using pore expand balls, we started to illustrate the logo. We did it just without breathing, because you can breathe when you work with pore expand balls. It's very delicate. It's quite delicate. So we did all the branding part here, and the typographic part as well, always using the pore expand as a main tool and ingredient. So we create this typography, just gluing this pore expand to these typographic forms. So you can go with a guide, no? You have a guide, and you can go, around the countryside, visiting the photographs work, like Cipriano. This is a whole of things with these containers, no? And we had to illustrate that, the numbers and the name of the photographs. We did a wall map as well, very carefully, all the time. These are some of the applications, the catalog as well. So in the following year, the theme was different, and the theme was fights. So I came up with this idea of using a hammer to do the identity, okay, and to illustrate this kind of aggressive thing, no, the impact thing in materials. So the intern was like a Breaking Bad outfit thing, and to work with glass. We use glass and just white spray to create identity in this way, just with stencils, and then breaking the glass, and then taking a photograph of the final pieces to illustrate this idea of fight, no, of the consistency of the impact. Some details. I like this one. No, with the mobile phone, just break it. That's for the year, for the website. And in the last edition, the theme was travels. The theme was travel. So we work with the idea of the topographic system and the topographic drawing, like that you are, traveling in a plane, no, above these mountains, and you're seeing these topographic things. So we started to do this typography. Very carefully doing these different layers to illustrate, the logo for the main poster, and then all the numbers and capital letters for the exhibition. So here you can see the details now. These little things here to illustrate the logo. So at the end you have this Gecko photo poster, always keeping just one ink, no? This white and cyan to have this contrast. Very These are just different versions of the poster using different pieces. Some of details here. Gecko photo, nice. So the idea is through typography. Always the typography in our mind, always keeping pushing a new, ways to convert typography and to experiment with it. This was an experiment as well that became a real project. So what we did is we tried to illustrate typography using the bubble wrap paper that we use when to another house, and injecting color and liquid there, and illustrating typography. And in this case, is a date thing. That's a work for Wired Magazine UK as well. And this was one of the final images. It was a very difficult project because it was a commission project from Wired, and we did like four models of this structure. The thing is that the water evaporates so quickly, and because we were working from Barcelona with these people in UK, in London, and they were changing the way that we photograph the piece. So each day they wanted to do more photographs. So because water evaporates so quickly, we had to repeat the structure and the injection thing all the time. No? That's the slow food part, that slow cook design part. At the end, they choose this one. I was devastated, no? Because it's a detail of. I wanted to kill him. So because a personal project that becomes real, we have a commission from Japan for this magazine called Plus 81, and we did a version, use the Next Creativity headline here. That was the cover, a detail, and the back cover. Also in the studio, we work a lot with the food industry, and there's a lot of people that ask why you do a lot of packaging and restaurants and it's very obvious, and it's because we love to eat, no? Like you in Italy, no? You have this tradition and this respect for food, and I really respect food, and I'm a very foodie guy. So we have a lot of projects coming to the studio related with food, and we enjoy very much. And if you are enjoying with the product that you are working on, working with, you are enjoying. So because you are enjoying, you are taking your best part there, no? Your best ideas or your best. So this is an uncommon project for a baker in Spain. That he wanted to us to design a packaging for his bread. A packaging for a bread is an uncommon thing. So the first thing was we are going to do a packaging, but with a little perforated thing to keep smelling the bread. Okay, not to to put it there and to trap the bread inside. So we use this very craft cardboard, just a rubber band to close the piece, and we did all the range and all the different packagings, just using a stamp with this logo and some stickers, and you can can pack them if you want with this rubber band. So we did that. So the baguette bag was a baguette bag, not a packaging. We came up with this idea to use a normal continuation thing. because when I see this baguette, it was so sharp, and when I put it in the bag, I said, "Oh, it looks like a gnome bag, like a gnome hat, no?" So this is all the family together, all with the wrapping paper, with some stickers talking about the bread. We did this belt to put the baguette there, and you can throw them if you want. So we enjoy very much working with food, also with pizza. Not nice, not a nice picture of a pizza, I know, because it's like a fast food pizza, but it's a picture that I use it for illustrate my idea for a pizzeria in Barcelona that is called Can Pizza. And it's a simple idea that shows, the mozzarella thing, elastic concept, no there. So all the brand for this pizzeria is just one logo that is repeated because the mozzarella is different, when you are taking a piece of pizza. So it's called Can Pizza. In Catalonia, Can is a house, it's a typical house in the countryside. So they choose this name, and they give me, the client, they give me the slogan is here, is respect pizza. And I'm like, okay. So all the brands also very simple. I use this red because it's the top, for me it's the tomato, it's the base of every single pizza. I know that they are white pizzas and red pizzas, but the authentic pizza is with this pomodoro. So I use just red, and this logo is like elastic logo, mozzarella. This is the place. This is Señor Lolo, a Roman guy who do a Roman pizza. The place is very kind of industrial, very raw, not well interior design there. So what I did is I did a big, huge, like a letterings, Al Capone and El Caparra, as the guy, Señor Lolo. So all the places with this huge, it's like the tomato on the space, it's like the tomato on the pizza dough. So it's Can Pizza. So also for the designers as well, all is melted, it's elastic. This is the people working for the huge letterings, and then in the outside you have this wall, and we put a huge, amazing Can Pizza logo there as well. In this case, also is a churreria. We did a churreria, churros. I don't know the name in Italian, the churros. Churros. Well, it's this pastry, that you melt with the chocolate. Very typical. We have this project coming in, and from a pastry shop, they wanted to make a churreria close to this pastry shop, and they wanted us to do something very funky. That was the brief at the beginning, And I have this idea to work with illustrators. So I thought, and I have this idea to work with these guys. I don't know if you know these guys. They are called Brosmine. They're two brothers. They are Brosmine because they draw and illustrate in the same way. It's amazing. It's like, twins. So they are very funny and amazing speakers as well. I sat with them and I briefed them the project, and I say, okay, I have this idea to do to illustrate a community of fried things, because there's churros, but there's more things like chips or different buñuelos, I don't know the word, but different pastry things, all made in all fried. So I have the idea to, okay, you guys, you have to illustrate the community of fried things. It's the fried community. So the first thing, they do a very basic draws, like these ones. That was the following meeting with them, and I was very stuck there and say, hey guys, you are crazy or what? These are very violent drawings. And I say, hey, You know that this is a place that it's surrounded by schools. There's a lot of kids going there. This is not to wait and to show the soul of the place. Huh? There's a lot of they're all fighting against them. So you have this go and destroy, and there's a lot of churros fighting with the cups of chocolate cups. And I said, you have to just slow down with the concept. And so they slowed down, and they started to do this kind of a pattern thing of different, products and different people from this community. So this is the end, the final piece. We use just one color, and we try to combine it with a very old classic churreria material, like the craft paper. So the name of the place is churros. That is a very common expression in Spain, that you say, como churros, is like you are selling a lot. Tú estás vendiendo como churros, como churros. Whoa, esto es como, no, a lot. So I came up with this idea of como churros, no? This needs to be the name of the place. We use the neon light, very typical in churrerias, but with this more contemporary, more modern color, this magenta color. Also, we did the packaging designs, the products, this adjustable cone to put more or less churros, the labels for the oil, for the olive oil. There's this churro without head, just running. That's some graphics for the chocolate powder. So all the items are connected with this pattern. But the thing is to use this as a pattern, as a pattern of things, and also as separated items that we use in batches, for example, carry bags, hot chocolate. So that was the final version, the logo here, the Coma Churros, with a small symbol of the machine that makes the churro. Also in this project, in this next one, is a food can project. Okay, in Spain, it's an anchovy project, and it's about to do all the branding and packaging for that. And the first idea that I had for the logo, this one, I take the opener of these food cans, the typical one that it looks like a fish. So I say, this looks like a fish. I don't know if you see the fish. So I use it to make and to design the logo. So the name is called La Torre Punset, and I chose a typography very condensed, like the anchovy. So it's quite simple idea, just a condensed anchovy typography for the logo. The business cards are like these scans. So we take we use this typeface. We put it very carefully in every single packaging of anchovies. And we have this liquid thing about the olive oil inside the cans that is like dripping. So the idea is that the name of the product is more larger or shorter depending of the proportion of the packaging. So this is anchoas. These are some of the packaging. Anchoas, more anchoas. The family of anchoas. So then we did the mejillones, so the clives, the sardines and boquerones, navajas. Navajas, I don't know the name for navajas. And then all the family together, also with the vermouth. This is more, food ingredient and and physical things, but also we develop a lot of drinks labels and drinks stuff. Drink with me, I say that. But we did a lot of one-side stories, that I say. The wine labels different range of designs for labels. This one was also very direct in a way, because I wanted to design a frontal of a label with no text on it. Because I realized that, I couldn't remember the name of the wines when I'm in a restaurant and you're at the end of the dinner, bottles there, and then, hey, do you remember the wine? It's a very nice wine. Do you remember the name? Oh no, Marqués of what? I don't know. Now I say, okay, one much, just one icon. So this is called babau. Babau in Catalan is a Catalan word, and babau is the guy that is stuck in front of something like this, and he's dropping a baba. He's dropping a. So that's why it's a baba there. So it's a cutting out piece in the label that you can see the color of the wine because it's cut it out. So we did the trilogy of that. This is babau. We also add a pencil there that you can finish the design if you want. You have blank space there to finish whatever you want. This for the rosé. It's called Cau de Papallones. That is the butterfly cave. So very simple, just a butterfly there. And this for the shark face for the red. Working for wines for this guy is Massimo Macchiori, he's an Italian guy that lives in Tarragona, and he's doing natural wines. And he came over to the studio and he wanted us to do the range of different labels for these natural wines. And the main idea for me was this, because I see this wax stopper there, and I say, how do you do this? No? And I said, no, Baño Maria one by one. Yeah, well, this is a quite natural process, no? I say, okay, we want to keep this idea, and we want to develop like a graphic concept for your labels. We choose a typography, very elegant, simple, with these stencil parts, and we, with candles, we started to create a typography. So we designed these pieces, and we fill all these spaces with wax, and we create like an alphabet of different letters, all different between them. And then we started to do every single label for this wide range of natural wines. This is called Vinello. It uses just capital letters to illustrate the name. So in the front you just have these two letters, and in the back you have the rest of information. So that's for Vinello. That's for Viñate, that's for the whites. Subiraparen, no? It's just syllabs, no? Subiraparen, Viñate, Vinello. The two together. And then he gave us the opportunity to do the sparkling part of the wines, the sparkling family. And he brought to the studio these bottles, and they were very nice all together with this kind of a gradient color, very nice. And I say to Massimo, don't put labels here. We don't need labels. No. Leave this transparency, this color to breathe out, no? And we just did this screen print typeface, and we did a slightly sparkling design there, just very slight. So at the end it's also very direct and very simple. You can find these wines in this place. That's called Bar Brutal, and it's about brutal wines as well. It's about natural wines. It's a space where you can go and drink natural wines. And we did the identity for that, and it was a kind of a revolutionary thing to do using graphic design. So we started to do everything with brush, no? Because when you go to a strike or something, you use your brush, no, to communicate things, no, through the banners. So this is some parts of this brutal, bar brutal in Barcelona, más brutal, menos frutal, para fresca, la ventresca. So this is the menus, the back of the menus, Vino por copas of it, Born to be Wine, because the borough, the place of where this bar is called Born. So we use Born to be Wine. It's also Viva el Menú. We did T-shirts. We started to do all the letterings in the display part, in the outsides. Vino Libre, Revolution. They wanted this kind of tone, no, for this identity. So brushing. Born to be Wine. This is from the outside, from the inside, and it's very brutale. And almost finished this experimental project as well for a range of wines about the story of wines. So we came up with the idea to this name, Wine Side Story. No? So we did the basic graphics for the bottles, and then we experiment with the final identity using the actual wine, the liquid, to illustrate the identity. We found in the market a product called Never Wet that are selling in the United States. They use this Never Wet. It's a spray that people use. They spray in the clothes and is rejecting the liquids, this spray. I came up with this idea, okay, we can do stencil with this, and it's going to, the letters are going to be projected in the paper with this Never Wet, but we can achieve the contrast between liquid and non-liquid space. So there's some experiments with the actual wine. It looks like blood, but it's not blood. Okay, so we started to do this structure of the logo, and then we tried this Never Wet thing, and then with very carefully we started to to apply this wine, very physical and bold wine typography. So there was the piece here, and when we finished, we took a stroke and we started to drink the wine. Very nice wine typography. And almost finished as well for most quite strange projects that we have in the studio. This is a farm in the north of Catalonia, and they have just 200 cows there. It's a very special place. The cows are more happy than you, than me, and than everyone in this place. And it's a place to do it's the wall of the fairy Sorry, it's a dairy hub space, and it's all about the quality of the milk. So they have excellent cows there. They are stars of world stars cows. This is the farm. So as you can see, it's a very special place, not the typical farm. They have this machine. The amazing thing is that they have an electronic belt here, and they go to dairy with their own. They wanted to. They went to dairy. They go along to the space to dairy, and they go inside this machine, and there's a guy put in the these pieces, and they start dairy. So this is from the in the basement of the machine. So they have all this electronic system going on, analyzing the quality of milk. So it's a kind of a laboratory of dairy for cows. It's all really clean. So we did all the graphics. We did the bottle for the white for the milk. That is obviously is a white typography there. Also the website as well. So at the end, the core of the studio is this one. We have fun. This is very important. We take a lot of time working there. You need to have fun. You need to enjoy and to be happy, to do enjoy things and playful things. But the main thing is to have fun. Is very, very important. To have fun with the products that you are working. So grazie mille, grazie.
Thank you for your presentation. I think there can be many things to ask you. I have a few things to ask you, but I first want to hear their questions because as you have presented a very peculiar way of working, maybe they want to know more about it. So any questions? It was very clear. That was one thing, at least, I wanted to ask you, because with this way of working, of course, you already said you need time. Mm-hmm. So how do you organize your work? Especially I was thinking when some proposal might be rejected and you have to redo it. So how is your time planning, how you deal with projects, how you convince clients to stick to your way of working?
It's a common fighting all the time, because you have to make them understand that we are using a different way to work. So this is a permanent thing going on in the studio. But at the end, the people is coming to the studio and they know that these things need, time to make them. So it's difficult to plan, to have a planning, and you never know what is going to happen. Sometimes, the project is not working so good and is maybe rejected at the end for diverse reasons. So this is very stressful. This is very stressful. I know that it's not a practical or comfortable thing, like to have your computer and to do everything by computer. But we reject the idea to work with computer in the first phase.
So whatever you propose is going to be some kind of real model, not a rendering or whatever.
No. Yes, always is real. Yes.
So even for a draft of an idea, it takes time for you to.
Takes time, yes.
And you maybe are not going even to present it to the client if you don't like it in the end.
Yes. We have this risky thing, and also with the budget thing is difficult to make them understand that it has a timing, but it has a price as well, and you have to fight all the time to these things.
While looking at your picture with Giovanni and Ceschi, we were noticing how much method and how much structure is in your work. You talk about experimenting, but it's experimenting with a structure, very clear one.
Mm-hmm. It's always this idea of experimenting to have the control of things. I always have in mind this idea I want to touch things, I want to control them in front of me, not with an extension of tools or machines, no. So I always wanted to the first thing, the first model, the first idea is always made physical.
And also, you mentioned since the beginning that Gerard is paper craftsman is very important in your studio, but I suppose also photography must be another very important component.
During the time of working, we've been learning photograph techniques, just asking to professional photographers to, hey, what is the technique to the lighting or to the flash thing? Or
so it's you designers, you don't have a photographer, it's your designers doing the
We
photos.
have a photograph studio inside the studio. So because we are all the time we're using photography for the process, for the final piece, for the portfolio. So it's all the time
So
the
photography
photograph.
is both the final result and also the documentation of the process, which I imagine is very important to explain the time which is necessary
Very important, yes.
Not only for lecturers, but also for clients to understand.
Yes. To transmit the idea.
Okay, I have to say I really admire the way you build your own way of working.
Thank you.
So I think it's an example that you can take your own direction by designing the way you want to work and present this to your client. I think it's a great opportunity to hear about your own way of presenting things.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Grazie mille.